Hey everybody, Tom Butwin here. It's an exciting day on the channel. Today is the official launch of the Paul Reed Smith Silver Sky John Mayer Model SE, happening right now. I'm actually recording the video, put a timestamp on it as the press release is happening. So hopefully what I'm bringing you is still interesting to you. I'm sure they're going to talk about it today, but I wanted to tell you that Paul Reed Smith as a company is very cool. They reached out to me based on my last video and asked if I had any questions. And I had a lot of questions, and they answered many of them. And I'm going to talk about two of those today, and they are surrounding the pickups and the neck radius. And the company, PRS, and Paul Reed Smith has done something with these pickups that I find to be very interesting and I think is going to bring a lot of value to the SE version of this guitar. What's going to happen with the SE version? Are these pickups going to be anywhere near what the 635 JMs are on the core model? So I asked that question. Let's go to the direct answer that I got from Paul Reed Smith, the company. I asked, what does the S indicate on the SE pickups and how do they compare to the 635 JMs in the core? Their answer, they are based on the Maryland-made pickups that we make here and use on the USA model, but they are made by the same folks in Indonesia, PT Court, I believe. There's a couple subsidiary companies that are in there, but I believe that's who it is, who make all our SE pickups. We add the S to the pickups to designate that they are not made here in Maryland. Makes sense? When developing the 635JM S pickups with our overseas manufacturing partner, we actually brought their materials in-house and reverse engineered the 635JMs that we make here. They are a version of the same pickup, but we find that they have a little more bite to them. They are, there's no better or worse. It's a matter of taste. We're all extremely pleased with these pickups. So the surprising thing that Paul Reed Smith did to me is they've actually brought the material back from Indonesia to their factory, lab, whatever, here in Maryland in the United States of America and reverse engineered to get these pickups on the SE as close as possible to the original 635 JM pickups. Now, obviously, they're telling you right now there is a difference. Not necessarily better or worse. There is more bite to them. Now, we get into all sorts of adjectives as musicians: warm, clarity, bite, muddy, you name it. There's all these different words. Now, exactly what that means and how it translates to the tone of a guitar is really going to be highly dependent on the player, the amplifier, the setting, who knows. We're going to have to wait and see what people start to think of these pickups. But I think it's interesting and comforting if you are somebody who's waiting on an SE model to ship out today, that to know that these are not just off the shelf in a bin single coil pickups that they threw in this thing. There's actually some thought in engineering and process that went into what they are using in the SE model of the Silver Sky. So that to me was very exciting, very cool that Paul Reed Smith, the company, reached out to me and asked if I had any questions. And so cool that they actually answered. Now, another hotly contested spec on this guitar is the 7.25 inch fretboard radius. Okay. Again, I'm not a luthier, but before buying this, I talked to my guitar tech and I asked him, I said, I've heard a lot about this 7.25 radius. What's the deal? Is there anything I need to be worried about? And he kind of echoed a little bit of what Paul Reed Smith said about the 8.5 inch fretboard radius. Let me move this up for you here. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So I asked, how was the 8.5 inch fretboard radius decided on? They said, we believe the 8.5 inch radius will feel like home to players and also presents a few less manufacturing challenges with fretting and fret level. There's the key. We'll get back to that in a second. The 8.5 inches gives a very similar feel in a more production-friendly way. Making guitar with a 7.25 radius fretboard and low action with no fret buzz is an art form. Now, I will tell you that is true. I don't have any fret buzz on this, but I can see where that would be potentially an issue. And my guitar tech, kind of warned me, said in the future, refrets, fret leveling, depending on the way the guitar ages, if things start to move around a little bit, the 7.25 inch radius can present problems for some people. Now, I tend to like higher action. I like a little bit more resistance. I have a pretty heavy touch when I play. So I don't anticipate there being a real issue for me in the 7.25. This is good news for maintainability and universal maintainability, I guess, on an 8.5-inch fretboard radius for the SE. So obviously, it's easier to make. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think that it's still trying, I think they're trying to be true to the original feel of this. I don't know how close it's going to feel. That's going to be interesting. I actually really like this neck on the core model. It's way different than what I normally play with a Strat, which is a deep V 50 style neck. But this is obviously modeled in the more 60s manner. So we'll see where the SE stacks up on this. Now, the other thing I would like to mention, if you've made it this far in the video, I'm hoping, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who get this before I do, but I'm hoping to have a Silver Sky SE to review on this channel this week, maybe next week. I don't know. It's coming. And like I said, there's going to be a ton of videos. You're going to have seen a bunch of them, but I would encourage you and ask you, wait for mine. I hope it's something different. I hope it brings you something entertaining. I'll try to figure out something that somebody else hasn't done with the reviews if I can get my hands on one of these. If not, that's okay. There's going to be tons of people out there who either bought one or got one from the company prior to the release to review. But I will say this. Paul Reed Smith as a company so far has been incredibly responsive. They reached out to me. So cool. That they would do something like that. I'm a relatively small channel, but I know that you are all very loyal and interested, and I really appreciate all the new subscribers. So hopefully I can bring you something about the Silver Sky SE in my hands, a comparison, of course, to this, a full review of the actual guitar. But until then, enjoy all the materials that have come out from Paul Reed Smith. No doubt by this point, there's going to be, tons of other musicians and guitar players talking about this, and a very exciting day. But once again, just really interesting stuff directly from the company. So how often do you get that? I've had the similar experience with Martin guitars. I've never tried to contact Fender or Gibson, to be fair to them, but I have to believe that it's the bigger the company, the more difficult it is to actually get a hold of a person there. So Paul Reed Smith, cool company so far. My first and only PRS. I'm loving it. Remains to be seen what really happens with the SE version, but it sounds like they've taken some great care in making this instrument, which is not surprising based on what I've been learning about the company. And we'll just have to see what people think of it. I mean, the original Silver Sky was hugely controversial when it came out. I don't know if they really expected it to be. It certainly did well for the guitar. It's selling like crazy. You have to be on a waiting list to even get one at this point. I expect that the SE is going to be a similar situation. It's going to be very popular, despite anything that anybody can find to complain about regarding it. Of course, there's always going to be something, but I think overall it's going to be massively popular. So more to come, I hope. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what I do here, please consider subscribing, liking the video. I have all of my affiliate links in the description below, which help me continue to produce content like this. I have my own music linked there as well, and a whole bunch of other videos similar to this on the channel. Until then, I really appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.